You've been losing power every time you try to prove you're not weak. Every time you explain yourself to people who already decided to misunderstand you, you hand them your frame. Every moment you react too quickly, you reveal your pressure points. Whenever you rush to defend your name, your anger becomes their leverage. That ends today. Machiavelli understood something most people never do. Power is rarely lost in open battle. It is lost in disclosure, in emotional leakage, in poorly timed reactions, in giving your enemy information they did not earn. The average person thinks conflict is won by speaking louder, moving faster, showing strength on command. Strategic people know the opposite. The more visible your emotions become, the easier you are to move. The easier you are to move, the easier you are to control. Your enemies do not always want to destroy you directly. Sometimes they want something far more useful. They want access to your state, access to your fear, access to your anger, access to your need to be seen as right, good, innocent, powerful, unbothered. Once they can predict your reaction, they no longer have to fight you. They only have to trigger you. That is why silence is not passivity. Silence is reconnaissance. Silence is denial of access. Silence is a weapon against people who survive by reading you, baiting you, and turning your reactions into evidence against you. Weak people confuse silence with surrender. Strategic people use silence to break patterns, distort expectations, and force others into exposure. Weak people announce what they feel. Strategic people decide what others are allowed to know. Weak people try to win the moment. Strategic people win position. In this video, you'll learn Machiavelli's 9 silent tricks for defeating enemies without public chaos, emotional waste, or desperate displays of force. You'll discover how to make people reveal themselves while you remain unreadable. You'll understand how to destroy their certainty, starve their leverage, protect your status, and turn controlled indifference into social power. And one of these lessons is especially dangerous, because once you understand it, you stop fighting enemies on their level and start collapsing their influence from a distance. This is not about cruelty. It is not about random hostility. It is not about becoming paranoid or cold for no reason. This is about control, perception, protection, position. It is about learning how not to bleed in public. It is about becoming harder to provoke, harder to decode, and much harder to manipulate, because the truth is simple. Most people are not defeated by stronger enemies. They are defeated by their own visibility. They talk too early. They react too cleanly. They reveal their pain to people who should never have been given that privilege. Then they wonder why disrespect keeps repeating. Not anymore. By the end of this, you will not need noise to feel powerful. You will understand when silence punishes harder than confrontation, when absence says more than a speech, when calm destroys the attacker's confidence faster than rage ever could. You will stop performing your strength and start preserving it. If you are done giving enemies free access to your mind, comment, "I move in silence." Number 1. Starve them of emotional data. Your first defense is to stop feeding the enemy the information they need. Most conflict becomes dangerous the moment your emotional state becomes visible. The instant they see what hurts you, what angers you, what makes you defensive, they stop guessing and start aiming. Machiavelli understood that people attack where response is predictable. If your face changes, your tone tightens, your messages get longer, your pace becomes frantic, you are giving them a map. And once someone has a map of your emotions, they do not need strength. They only need repetition. You see this in real life when someone makes a disrespectful comment in a group setting. You immediately jump in. You explain what they meant, what you meant, why that was unfair, why people should understand your position. But now the room is no longer watching them. They are watching you unravel. Most people reveal pain. Powerful people conceal access. The implication is brutal. If they can read your pressure, they can press it. If they can press it, they can manage your behavior. If they can manage your behavior, your power is already leaking. Instead, slow down your face, your voice, and your response time. Give less than they expect. Let their probe hit a wall, not a wound. Force them to guess whether anything landed at all. The unreadable person is expensive to attack. If you understand that, comment, "I protect my emotional data." Number 2, never announce retaliation. The moment you tell people what you are about to do, you reduce the impact of doing it. Amateurs threaten because threatening feels powerful in the body. It gives immediate relief. It creates the illusion of control. But strategically, it is sloppy. When you announce your response, you grant preparation time. You let people rehearse excuses, build alliances, and reposition before consequence arrives. Machiavelli never respected emotional broadcasting. He respected timing, concealment, and results. Think about a workplace scenario. A colleague undermines you in meetings, takes credit in subtle ways, and keeps testing your boundaries. If you say, "Keep doing this and I'll expose you," you have already weakened your move. Now they become careful. Now they manage optics. Now they warn others about you first. Most people signal force. Powerful people deliver surprise. The strategic implication is clear. Declared retaliation creates resistance. Quiet retaliation creates imbalance. What shocks people is not hostility. It is consequence without emotional advertisement. Instead, document quietly. Build your case privately. Strengthen your position before they understand the game changed. Let the results speak in a voice your anger never could. Power talks after the board is already set. If you operate that way, comment, "I do not announce my moves." Number 3, use silence to magnify uncertainty. People can tolerate opposition. What they struggle to tolerate is ambiguity. When someone attacks you, they usually expect one of two things: submission or reaction. Both give them orientation. Both tell them where they stand. Silence removes orientation. Silence forces interpretation. And interpretation is exhausting for insecure people, manipulative people, and status-hungry people because they rely on immediate feedback to calculate their next move. When you give them none, their confidence starts eating itself. Imagine someone sends you a loaded message designed to provoke guilt or urgency. Instead of firing back, you wait. Not as a game, as a decision. Hours pass, then a day. Suddenly they are no longer certain. Are you offended? Amused? Done with them? Planning something? Indifferent? Their mind starts producing what your mouth refused to supply. Most people rush to clear tension. Powerful people let tension work. This matters because uncertainty transfers pressure. The moment you stop rushing to resolve discomfort, discomfort stops belonging only to you. It begins migrating into the other person. Instead, become selective with closure. Not every accusation deserves an answer. Not every provocation deserves correction. Let some people sit in the darkness they tried to create for you. Silence is cruel only to those who depend on your reaction. If that lands, comment, "I let silence create pressure." Number 4, make them perform while you disappear. An enemy exposed in motion is weaker than an enemy challenged head-on. Many people destroy themselves when they believe you are no longer resisting. Their ego expands. Their caution drops. Their behavior becomes public. Machiavellian logic understands this perfectly. If you interrupt too early, you stop the enemy from revealing full character. If you stay still a little longer, they often overplay, overtalk, overreach, and self-identify to everyone watching. You see this when someone keeps gossiping about you, expecting you to jump into the circle and defend yourself. If you chase every lie, you legitimize the arena. But if you withdraw, maintain your standards, and let them keep talking, something happens. People start noticing who is obsessed and who is composed. Most people chase the rumor. Powerful people outlast it. The strategic implication is simple. The more they perform, the more evidence they generate. The more evidence they generate, the less you need to say. Their lack of restraint becomes your silent witness. Instead, reduce access, appear less, speak less, tighten your circle. Let consistency replace self-defense. Let your absence become contrast against their noise. Not every enemy should be interrupted. Some should be observed until they expose themselves. If you can do that, comment, "I let them reveal themselves." Number 5. Control witnesses, not the enemy. You rarely defeat an enemy by changing their mind. You defeat them by controlling what observers conclude. This is where most people fail. They focus on the attacker instead of the audience. But social power is rarely private. Reputation, credibility, authority, and status all move through witnesses. Machiavelli understood that perception is not decoration. It is architecture. If others see you as unstable, you lose position even when you are technically right. If others see you as calm, precise, and difficult to manipulate, your enemy can become louder and still lose. Take a family gathering, a team meeting, a friend group. One person keeps making sly remarks to provoke you. If you lock onto them emotionally, the scene becomes mutual conflict. But if you stay measured, answer once if necessary, and never descend into obvious agitation, the room starts sorting the hierarchy on its own. Most people argue with the attacker. Powerful people communicate with the room. That is the implication. You are not always managing a person. You are managing a frame. And the frame decides who looks dangerous, who looks small, who looks insecure, and who looks in control. Instead, discipline your optics. Fewer words, better timing, clean posture, calm tone, short responses that signal no panic. Let witnesses feel the asymmetry without you naming it. Status is often decided by who appears least movable. If you understand that game, comment, "I control the frame." Number 6. Turn patience into timing. Patience is not waiting because you are weak. It is waiting because you know premature action exposes strategy. This is one of the most dangerous lessons in the entire video. Most people act when emotion peaks. That is exactly when judgment is worst. Anger creates urgency, and urgency creates mistakes. Machiavelli respected delay when delay improved outcome. Not because delay felt noble, but because timing converts raw intent into leverage. If you move too early, you warn them. If you move too late, you lose initiative. But if you move at the moment they feel safest, the effect multiplies. Imagine someone in business tries to edge you out, exclude you from information, and quietly damage your credibility. Your impulse is to confront instantly. But if you wait long enough to identify patterns, gather proof, secure allies, and choose the right setting, your response lands as precision, not emotion. Most people act on feeling. Powerful people act on timing. The strategic implication is severe. A badly timed truth can fail. A well-timed silence can win. Action matters. But timing decides whether action becomes impact or waste. Instead, treat emotion like weather. Let it pass before you move. Use the cooling period to see structure, not just offense. Then act once, clearly, and without visible strain. Timing is what makes quiet people look untouchable. If you will stop rushing, comment, "I move when the moment is right." Number 7. Refuse the trap of explanation. Over-explaining is one of the cleanest signs that someone has entered your frame. People explain too much when they are trying to reclaim innocence, reduce tension, force understanding, or prevent rejection. But enemies love explanation because explanation is exposure. The longer you speak, the more material they collect. The more detail you provide, the more angles they gain. And worst of all, over-explanation signals that their judgment still matters to you. That alone lowers your position. You know the scenario. Someone accuses you of being distant, arrogant, disloyal, difficult, selfish, cold. None of it is said to understand you. It is said to corner you into defending your identity. Then you start clarifying everything. Why you were busy, why you said that, why you did not respond, why they got the wrong impression. Now you are inside their courtroom. Most people explain to be accepted. Powerful people let misunderstanding expose the manipulator. That is the implication. Not every misunderstanding is a problem. Some misunderstandings are filters. They reveal who deserves clarity and who only wanted access. Instead, answer briefly when necessary. Correct facts, not feelings. Do not beg to be interpreted correctly by someone committed to distortion. Let some people keep the wrong story if the price of correction is your dignity. The more you explain your value, the less it is felt. If that truth is clear to you, comment, "I do not over-explain." Number 8. Build quiet alternatives before conflict peaks. Real power enters the room long before conflict begins. People become trapped by enemies when they have no options, no backup income, no stronger network, no private proof, no alternative path, no emotional independence. Then every insult feels larger because the enemy holds practical leverage. Machiavellian strategy is not only about response. It is about preparation. The person with options does not panic because they are not negotiating from need. Consider a relationship, business partnership, or social circle where respect is deteriorating. If you depend completely on that space for money, identity, or belonging, you become soft under pressure. You tolerate what should never be tolerated. But if you have quietly built skills, alliances, savings, opportunities, and distance, the entire energy changes. You stop clinging. They feel it. Most people seek fairness. Powerful people secure leverage. The implication is everything. Silence only works when it is backed by options. Indifference only looks strong when departure is believable. Calm only holds when your survival is not attached to their approval. Instead, prepare before the crisis. Strengthen what they cannot see. Build the exit before you need the door. Build the network before you need support. Build the evidence before you need defense. Leverage is silent long before it becomes visible. If you are building from the shadows, comment, "I create leverage quietly." Number 9. Win by becoming inaccessible to control. The final defeat of an enemy is not their pain, it is their irrelevance. This is where silence becomes transformation. At the highest level, you stop measuring victory by whether they suffer. You measure it by whether they can still affect your state, your direction, your reputation, your timing, your peace, your decisions. If they can still pull emotion out of you on demand, they still have influence. If they can still drag you into cycles of reaction, they still occupy space they did not earn. Machiavelli would recognize this instantly. The strongest position is not revenge alone. It is structural freedom from manipulation. Picture someone who used to control you through guilt, disrespect, seduction, intimidation, or confusion. In the old pattern, one message from them changed your whole day. One rumor ruined your focus. One insult triggered pages of response. But now imagine the shift. Your routines remain intact. Your standards remain intact. Your plans remain intact. Their tactics arrive, but they find no handle. Most people want to hurt the enemy back. Powerful people remove access completely. This is the final implication. The enemy loses when your mind is no longer available to occupy. when your behavior no longer bends around their presence, when your silence is not a tactic alone, but proof that they cannot reach the center of you anymore. Instead, stop making them the axis, shorten access, cut repeated openings, end unnecessary visibility. Detach from being witnessed by those who enjoy your instability. Let your life become so structured, so deliberate, and so internally governed that manipulation cannot find traction. The most devastating message is not spoken, it is lived. You no longer move me. If you are done being emotionally reachable by the wrong people, comment, "I am inaccessible to control." This is the shift. You began this video thinking enemies were the problem, but the deeper problem was exposure. Too much reaction, too much explanation, too much urgency, too much concern for being understood by people who only wanted access to your nervous system. Now you see the structure more clearly. Silence is not empty. It is selective. It is strategic. It protects position, preserves leverage, and interrupts the cycle that keeps ordinary people emotionally available to those who should never have had that privilege. You don't need to argue with every attack. You don't need to correct every false impression. You don't need to prove your strength to people who only respect visible struggle. What you need is tighter control of access, better timing, cleaner detachment, less emotional broadcasting, more attention to perception, witnesses, leverage, and position. Because once you stop performing your pain, people lose the easiest way to manage you. Once you stop over-explaining, people lose the easiest way to trap you. Once you stop reacting on schedule, enemies lose the rhythm they depended on. That is why the calm person is feared differently. Not because they are loud, not because they threaten, not because they perform darkness, but because nobody can easily read where their line is, what affected them, what they know, or when they will act. That uncertainty creates weight. That weight creates presence. That presence protects status. Machiavelli knew that being underestimated can be useful, but being readable is fatal. So become less available, less immediate, less emotionally generous with those who weaponize information. Let your silence stop being awkward and start becoming calculated. Let your restraint stop feeling passive and start becoming command. You do not have to disappear from life. You only have to disappear from patterns that made you easy to control. And when that happens, something changes in the way people approach you. They become less certain, less careless, less entitled to your reactions. You become harder to read, harder to move, and harder to control. If this video shifted something in you, hit like so. This message reaches more people who are still bleeding power through reaction. Subscribe if you want deeper psychological strategy, sharper social awareness, and more content on silence, leverage, control, and unreadable presence. Share this with someone who still over-explains, reacts too fast, or keeps giving emotional access to people who have not earned it. And remember, the strongest move is not always the loudest one. It is the one that leaves your enemies staring into silence, with nothing to hold.